GoldRing, the beating heart of civilization, a beacon of hope for all intelligent life on Tal. Located on the Gulf Coast of Vilous Lake, the great city stands tall, encircling the very rim of the lake, resembling the shape of a crescent moon. The citizens of GoldRing vary from species to species, but the dominant members of the city are mostly Southern Sergals and Agudners, the Southern Sergals being natives. The majority of people who reside within the city live comfortable, healthy lives, but this varies based on species. Unlike their northern neighbors, GoldRing faces no threats from the indigenous life outside the city, as no major forests or densely populated wildlife are within proximity. The only challenge people have in their everyday life are crimes committed by the people who inhabit the city. Several hundred years BCE, an ancient group of Agur, the precursors to the modern Agudners, left their villages by the forests around the lower Magu and traveled into the southern deserts. As time passed, they eventually reached the nomadic gypsy Southern Sergals. Through cooperation, they settled the shores of the vast salt lake Vilous. The rising settlement would eventually become GoldRing, the pillar of civilization on Tal. During the foundation of the city, the Southern Sergals and Agudners drafted a constitution to formalize their everlasting cooperation and friendship. A large majority of buildings are made from single upright stone blocks which have been hollowed, having existed since the old days. There are newer sections and divisions that were built in the early modern era. Most of the city's buildings are made from sand or stone. These structures are similar to buildings found in the Middle East here on Earth. In the centralmost area of GoldRing are the city's government facilities and offices, old temples and ancient monoliths. There are also areas where nobles, bureaucrats, and where the Juda live, Juda being a term referring to a deviated beautiful being that is regarded as almost sacred, having absolute value. They live within the temples. On the opposite side of the temples are the prisons and dungeons, built to house GoldRing's criminals and felons. Buildings closer to the center of the city are older than those built farther out, the oldest having existed since the founding of the city. Most of these older buildings appear sublime, even though they are older. People who live within the city must pass through resident registration if they wish to do business or live within the central area. The outer areas are not as strict, however, as everyone can build their own houses and do business freely. Most citizens are comprised of Southern Sergals, Agudners, and Eastern Sergals. The urban Nevrians are smaller in numbers than their fellow Eltis, and are still treated as foreign residents due to their newer history as citizens of GoldRing. After the World War, but before the year 70 in the Rain calendar, most Nevrians experienced an onslaught of racial discrimination. Treatment of Nevrians was very unfair and lasted for years. Even their very lives were downplayed. Over time, the Nevrians eventually gained solace, as a new law was passed giving them fair human rights. The nobles, who live within the central areas of the city, are comprised of Southern Sergals and Agudners, keeping their bloodlines pure since the founding of the city. Because of the relationship between Sergals and Agudners, there are many joint families that consist of both Sergals and Agudners. The people of GoldRing celebrate their diversity, leaving the city with little to no discrimination of sexuality. In the past, long before the arrival of the Nevrians, people enjoyed familiar pastimes. The children of the city enjoyed playing games such as marble or hopscotch. Adults enjoyed more mature content and gamble-like entertainment. The travel stories of merchants and captures of primitive creatures always caught the attention of those seeking something new. Nevrians arrived at GoldRing in the year 28 of the Rain calendar. After the World War ended in the year 50, the influence of male Nevrians led to a major shift in the everyday entertainment across the city. These included floor shows, cabarets, and brothels. Violence was at its peak in GoldRing as the demand for entertainment grew larger. The dismantling of creatures that had been brought in from the forests, or watching the creatures fight themselves. Long after the war, Vore shows became popular in underground theaters due to the influence of General Rain. The subject of Vore varies based on both opinion and definition. We will be focusing on the competitive aspect of eating foods and live animals. Unfortunately, due to their discrimination, Nevrians were sacrificed in illegal shows. In the year 70 of the Rain calendar, Nevrians received their human rights. Around this time, most of the Vore shows afterwards were shut down by law enforcement and banned by the GoldRing government. Basic laws were guaranteed to only Sergals and Agudners until the year 70 of the Rain calendar, due to the races being native citizens of GoldRing. After the year 70, Nevrians were treated as a third race to the city. Both Nevrians and Talyxian stalkers have the same rights as an intelligent race, with Rooters being the exception to this, as they are inapplicable because of their extraordinarily special position. GoldRing's political system is a representative system maintained by nobles, who also sometimes consult the Talyxian Rooters for their opinions. GoldRing has no head of state, president, or king. There is the Chuda, but they are more of a symbol and do not participate in politics. Talyxian Rooters may not participate in politics directly, as there is a law among them that states that no Talyxian Rooter may partake in Eltis politics, and can only provide opinions to people who seek them. GoldRing has its own religion, same as the city's name. The GoldRing religion focuses on the relationship and history of Southern Sergals and Agudners, bringing together and organizing the community. The GoldRing Vigilance Committee rules the wide range of southern lands on Tal. It exists to fill the roles of both the police force and army. The Vigilance Committee does not match the forces of the Shigu army, but operates something like the self-defense forces found in Japan on Earth. In the event of an emergency, the Vigilance Committee is dispatched, receiving a salary for their service. When the need arises, the Vigilance Committee trained to combat such events. GoldRing has existed in both the Old Age canon and New Age canon. If you have followed the world of Vilous since its inception, you will notice similarities between the two. Much like its people, GoldRing is a character in the ever-growing universe that is Vilous. The Nevrians fought hard to secure their independence and human rights, but they are not alone. There is another species who has risen from the wild lands of Tal to claim their citizenship. The Talyxian Stalkers.